Hey, how's it going, everybody? In today's video, I wanted to talk about the term fiduciary. Now, this term has been going around for quite some time now, and a lot of the general public is starting to pick it up, and they often ask us, are you fiduciary, and things like that. But I really don't quite think people know what the term fiduciary means, how much bias there is behind that term, and why you really shouldn't just trust an advisor solely because they are a fiduciary. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys the inside track on what that term really means. So if this is your first time here, remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss future updates just like this one here. So the term fiduciary, if you just go online and Google it, you're going to see that it says where an advisor is required to act in your best interest. All right, so I'll stop with the air quotes now. But the term best interest really opens up the door for advisor bias. So you go to one advisor for advice and they'll tell you what they think is best. Go to someone else and they'll tell you something completely different. So the term best is really subjective. Just like if you ask someone, what's the best place to eat in town? Or what's the best airline to fly on? Or what's the best team in the NFL? Now, we all know it's anybody but the Arizona Cardinals. No, I'm just kidding. My brother's a big Cardinals fan. So you can see that the term best is subjective and everyone has their own opinions on it. Also, just because someone gives you a recommendation, there's not like it goes through some kind of official review board where someone is going to shoot it down saying, oh, that's not the best, and nix the recommendation. No. I mean, there are some hierarchy here. It does have to go through a compliance standpoint. So there's someone that kind of looks over it. But oftentimes, unless that compliance person sees something completely out there, they're not going to say anything about it. Another thing to keep in mind is that depending on where the advisor works, that's also going to dictate what's considered their best advice. So real life example here, I got my start working at AXA Equitable. Now they're known as Equitable. They're headquartered out of Bellevue. And they're really the ones that introduced me to working with school district employees. So that's how I got my start. Now, while I was there, I had my appropriate license to be considered a fiduciary, and I did act what I thought was in the best interest of my clients. The problem was when I worked for that company, they had their own line of products. They had AXA annuities, AXA insurance, AXA 403Bs, so on and so forth. So in that capacity, even though I'm giving recommendations on what I feel is best for that client, and it's probably better than what they've been doing on their own, my advice was pretty much limited to what my company allowed me to offer. And that goes the same for all investment companies or insurance companies out there. Most of them are going to have their own line of products, or own way of how they want to do business, and they're going to train their advisors to do so. So when someone gives you their recommendations, what they think is best, it may be just the best that they can do in their current capacity. So that's why I often recommend getting a second opinion. Just because you have one advisor and they've helped you out through the tough times doesn't mean that someone else out there can't offer you a different point of view or provide more options or solutions that you've never even heard about before. So always important to get yourself a second opinion. The best way to get unbiased advice is to hire an advisor and just pay them for their time and expertise. That's the easiest way to do it. You'll be amazed at how much more proactive advice and detail they get when you actually offer to pay them for their time and expertise. Because you see, the way this industry is built is most advisors, unfortunately, are trained to sell things. They're looking for how much insurance can I sell them? Is there an annuity opportunity? How much assets do they have? And can I transfer it to me so I can charge them a fee and get paid on it? Unfortunately, that's the world that we live in. So oftentimes you're meeting with advisors, that's really what's going on behind their head and what they're looking for. And unfortunately, that's the way I was brought up in the industry as well. So if you really want to work with an advisor and get their opinion and expertise, the best way to do it is to offer to pay them for their time and expertise. Paying them by the hour or for the financial plan they built for you is the best way to do that. Because once you offer to pay them, they'll be more than happy to help you with certain areas of finances that they wouldn't necessarily get paid for elsewise. So paying an advisor for the time and expertise is the best way to eliminate that type of bias. It's just like if you go to a lawyer and one charged for an hourly fee, where you go to them, get the help or advice you needed, and walk away with it, versus going one that charged a percentage of the cases you won. If you go in there with no case at all, or a very small case, they're not going to give you the time of day, not going to offer very much help. So that same thing exists in the financial world. You can go to the traditional advisor, and that's what they're looking for, is the next sales or opportunity to transfer assets, or you can pay for them for time and expertise, and then they'll be more than willing to help you with anything you want, including things like how to pay off debt more efficiently, how to save more money on taxes. So that just opens the doors for a lot of possibilities. They're still fiduciaries, but they're going to be more inclined to help you with what you want to talk about. On top of that, these guys are typically going to be independent, which means they don't work for any national company. So these guys are going to be more inclined to give you the help you want, make sure you're satisfied and happy, to help give them a good name and reputation for their own small business, versus working with someone that works at some big national conglomerate where they don't own the business, so they may not care as much about their reputation or what you think of the firm, and they might be thinking of leaving anyways. And if they decide to step away from the industry, it has no bearing on them themselves. And that's really the difference between working with an advisor that works at a big national firm and working for a self-employed person running their own small shop. One other key distinction is those big national firms that really try to focus on investments and returns and this and that, they actually have a very limited selection of investors they can use when compared to working with the independent advisors. The independent advisors really have no one to say what they can and cannot do. So the world of opportunities and options are wide open for them versus the people that work for those companies that kind of have a shelter to kind of cap or manage their thousands upon thousands of advisors. Some other things to keep in mind when you're looking for who to go to for advice. Now you can find fiduciaries in both spaces, but there are other distinctions and keys to consider before investing with somebody. So if you need help with your own retirement or understanding your confusing state retirement benefit options, the link in the description below is to our calendar. We'll be happy to set up a time to help. Thanks for watching. Remember that your future depends on what you do today.